Chapter 7, Free Will. Nothing is more important to human existence where the purpose of this existence is for the individual to experience joy than free will. Absolutely nothing. You have the free will to kill yourself if you want, and there's nothing that anybody or any entity in the universe can do to stop you. The exception, of course, is if you are tied down and constrained so that you can't kill yourself. It would follow, then, that your will, desire, determination, motivation, or resolve to take your own life is not always based on your personal freedom to do so. Therefore, your will as a mortal is not always free, and cannot properly be called free will. None of us really has free will here, because someone other than our own self can impede it. Couple this with the fact that our personal freedom and will are so important to our purpose for existing. How and why, then, can our individual mortal existence consequently be of any importance? Again, in spite of all the arguments about it, nothing is more important to human existence where the purpose of this existence is for the individual to experience joy than free will. Absolutely nothing. What exactly is free will? And when was the last time you can remember using it in your personal pursuit of joy? Have you ever been free enough to do what you've wanted to do? Everyone seeks for their own personal pursuit of happiness. Has there ever been a time when you could follow the desires of your heart as an individual, regardless of being surrounded by so many others doing different things than you in their own pursuits of happiness? The answer is yes. During your first state of conscious existence, your physical body was specifically and purposefully created to exercise unconditional and unabated free will, where all other life forms were, are, and will always be created to do what their creators want them to do. Only humans were created to do what the newly created individual wants to do themselves. The main aspect that separates us from all other life forms is free will, nothing more and nothing less. But in order to have this free will, we needed a physical body that would allow us to exercise it. This is why our bodies are similar to each other's, but completely distinct from all other life forms. We can see a group of any other life forms and immediately tell this group from all other groups. This is because all the members of other species look very, very similar. The human species is different. Our physical appearances, looks, are so individually unique that it is usually easy to tell us apart from the whole. We don't even need names to distinguish us from one another. Our individual bodies can also influence our individual free will. In an advanced world, new people are not created with a gender. These advanced, newly created ones can choose their own gender whenever they want, or they can choose to remain ungendered. This is not the case in our current experience upon this earth. Presently, 2023, there is more argument about gender identity than many other issues. A person born into this world did not choose their own gender as far as their conscious free will is concerned. In this, our third state of conscious existence, their gender was forced upon them. And when this forced gender starts to make them unhappy, they desire to change it. Often, because of the restrictions and obstacles placed on their free will while living on this earth among others, the majority does not support gender transformations. Presently, a lot of hate and discord is experienced about these issues. Those who wish to change the identifying nature of their assigned gender at birth find it very difficult to do so. There is not much happiness in being told that you must accept the gender that was forced upon you at birth. Likewise, the fights and arguments that ensue regarding your ability to use free will to choose your own gender cause a lot of misery. These gender issues join other contentious arguments, most of which revolve around free will. For another example, does a person whose physical body can create a new human, the majority views these humans as female mothers, have the right to end the development of the new body going on inside her womb? There are many other sources of human contention as well. This contention, however, cannot always be blamed on the ignorant majority. Some people vociferously, vocally, loudly, in their pride, there's that word again, confront and intimidate others. Shouldn't the majority have the free will to walk on a public sidewalk or drive to the store without this intimidation? They too want their free will to be supported and protected. Fights ensue, divisions are made, and pride on both sides of the issues continues to do what it has always done, destroy human peace and happiness. In a world full of pride, is it possible for everyone living on the planet to have and exercise free will? No, it is not possible. Where there is pride, as it has been systematically and persistently reiterated throughout this book, there can be no peace. There can be no true justice. Consider the signs held up during the protests of people wanting to assert their free will over others. No justice, no peace. The protesters exercise their free will to break laws, intimidate others, and be loud and obnoxious. These are not allowing others to exercise the option that they should be afforded in exercising their free will. Then there are laws that codify, incorporate moral codes established by one group trying to support and protect their free will by taking away the same from others. You obey our laws or we will take away your freedom. Which laws are the right laws? In 2 of the previous chapters, we explained the only way that righteousness, the right way, can be achieved. It is the only way to unite humanity and stop people from killing each other. What we wrote includes words taken from a story taught by one of the world's main religions. We wrote, humanity will never survive unless the societies that sustain our existence establish law and order based on the following 2 important principles about human existence, who we are. First, love yourself with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. And the second is like unto it. You should love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments, all the law and order should be based. This particular religious deity, God, upon whose legend and teachings the above story was taken, also taught people not to argue with each other and call each other fools. He taught that we should not sue each other in court, and if we're sued, we should not fight back. In fact, he taught us to turn the other cheek and to never fight back. In one of his finest counsels, he encapsulated this simple rule of a righteous law, as it should be. Love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Nobody in this world does this, especially not those whose hearts and minds are full of pride. So when was it, as it pertains to your existence on this earth, in this solar system, that you exercised unconditional free will? It would be better asked, was there ever a time in your existence on the earth when you started to exercise your free will before someone else started obstructing and hindering it? Was there ever a time when you acted independently of any prior event or state of the universe? Yes, you did, when you were a little child, because you couldn't remember any event before you became conscious in this earth experience. As a little child, you acted independently of any prior event. But, as we have explained, there was actually a state of consciousness in the universe that foundationalized your ability to exercise free will. It was during this first state of existence in the first estate that you became a human, not a dog or a cat, a human with unconditional free will. Before we discuss more about the nature and purpose of human free will, it would perhaps be beneficial to your curiosity and intelligence to explore what people in our world think about free will. As with everything, there are all kinds of arguments about what free will means. Generally, science and philosophy define it as the supposed power or capacity of humans to make decisions or perform actions independently of any prior event or state of the universe. Arguments for free will have been based on the subjective experience of freedom, on sentiments of guilt, on revealed religion, and on the common assumption of individual moral responsibility that underlies the concepts of law, reward, punishment, and incentive. Then there's religion. Religion establishes sentiments of guilt on the common assumption of individual moral responsibility that underlies the concepts of law, reward, punishment, and incentive. In theology, the existence of free will must be reconciled with God's omniscience, infinite knowledge, and benevolence, kindness, and with divine grace, which allegedly is necessary for any meritorious act, whether a person gets to go to heaven or not. If there is a God, and this God created us for himself by his own good will and nature, grace, then we cannot have true individual free will. We must act according to God's commandments and his will. If we don't, we do not merit his grace and blessings. This is not real truth. This is not how things were, are, or will be. Our human existence cannot and should not be based on any God's will. It should be based upon our own free will. Again and again, in spite of all the arguments about it, nothing is more important to human existence where the purpose of this existence is for the individual to experience joy than free will. Absolutely nothing. But what if there really was a God who was omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent, all-knowing, all-powerful, and present everywhere throughout the universe? What if this God came down to the earth as a mortal human in order to show us an example of what kind of people we should be? This would make a lot of sense. If not even God, as a mortal living upon this earth, can keep his own commandments, then how can we? This compassionate and wise God should come and live among us and at least teach us what we need to do to save ourselves from each other. Above, we quoted from traditional stories presented by one of the most popular religious belief systems in the world. The scripture this church touts as the keystone of its religion teaches that God did come down in the flesh as his own son to give us his commandments and save us from ourselves. One of this particular religion's sects presents in their own scriptures how well God was received by the people living upon earth. God himself shall come down among the children of men, and shall redeem his people. And because he dwelleth in flesh, he shall be called the Son of God. And having subjected the flesh to the will of the Father, being the Father and the Son, the Father, because he was conceived by the power of God, and the Son, because of the flesh, thus becoming the Father and Son. And they are one God, yea, the very eternal Father of heaven and of earth. And thus the flesh becoming subject to the Spirit, or the Son to the Father, being one God, suffereth temptation, and yieldeth not to the temptation, but suffereth himself to be mocked, and scourged, and cast out, and disowned by his people. It should be noted here once more that this particular sect has a disproportionate number of its members committing suicide and taking antidepressants. Additionally, this sect has become the wealthiest church on earth. These two facts, when analyzed properly, according to the effect they have on the members, reveal the true cause of all of this emotional depression. Why are these people committing suicide and taking so many drugs? This church tells its members to follow the example of Jesus and obey the commandments that he gave as the Son of God when he lived upon the earth. But then, these members compare the teachings of their God, Heavenly Father, and Jesus Christ to their leaders' teachings, especially about what people need to do to be redeemed. Incredibly, the saving focus is not established and based on loving yourself and your neighbor as yourself, but on having pride that you belong to God's only true church, which is led by God's only true appointed leaders. As in all religious sects, of all religions that claim to have God's only truth, the free will of the people in this church is profoundly affected and controlled. Members are taught to heed God's will, but only as it is revealed through his servants, the accepted prophets, seers, and revelators. Further, they are instructed to obey these leaders, even if they contradict their own scriptures, which they do. When each person is born into this world, their free will is largely unconditional and unimpeded. The little child is curious about their new world. They explore and find many new things. They see new things, they hear new things, they smell new things, and they even put these new things into their mouths to be tasted. But the moment the child acts in a way that is not how the parent believes the child should act, guilt is introduced. This guilt is the underlying cause of the rewards, punishments, and incentives that will be the basis of what the child does and why the child does what they do. The child's free will is greatly impeded by their parents' free will. If the child complies with the will of the parent, then the child is rewarded. If not, the child is punished. There is no incentive for the child to exercise their own free will, not in this world. As we have explained, there is an energy that we call the eternal soul, which connects to a newly created infant's body when it takes its first breath. This unique form of energy identifies the individual from the rest of the human forms of energy that exist throughout the universe. This soul was foundationalized a long time ago in a solar system, in a galaxy that could be trillions of light years away from this earth. We have explained what human experience and consciousness are, according to real truth. We have explained that this form of energy is established and stored on the intergalactic internet cloud, for want of a better way to describe it, that is responsible for giving consciousness to all living things. We've explained how we did not exist until some other human being created a human brain, so that this unique physical part of a body could connect to the cloud in order to upload and download information. The first information we gained about our personal and individual identity were the experiences that we had while living with our Creator in their solar system. As we had these experiences, they were all uploaded and stored on the cloud in a specific file, to which only each of us as individuals have the proper password. No one else can access our information, not even our creators. No matter where we might go in the universe, we can access our individual information, the energy that is personal to our unique existence. We were not created to be someone else's servant. We were not created and foundationalized to be under the control of any other person or entity, God or not. We were created to be gods, the greatest life form possible. In essence, because our personal information experience is stored on the intergalactic cloud, We are omnipresent, present everywhere throughout the universe. We are also omniscient, all-knowing, in regard to our own information, which can only be accessed for our own will and pleasure. We are also omnipotent, all-powerful, because no one can control what we do or how we do it. We are the only God that matters in our existence. No one is allowed to create new human beings properly unless they have been commissioned and can be trusted to do it correctly. Unlike our earth parents, our true advanced parent created us in their own image, not gendered unless we, through our own experience, wanted to be. We were created by gods to become gods, and until we became an omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent life form, a god, we remained with the advanced humans who gave us life. They oversaw our development and made sure that our free will, not theirs, took precedence over anyone else's, including theirs. These advanced creators did not teach us to worship and serve God. They created us to become our own God. You do not tell a God what to do or how to do it. But if you can convince a person that they are not a God, and that there exists a God whom the person should be serving and worshipping, then the person loses their free will to the will of whomever is deceiving the person about a more powerful entity than their own true self. In our first estate, we learn that the kingdom of God is truly within, and there is only one king or queen sitting upon the throne therein. As we had experienced in the form of energy, this energy was stored on the cloud under our unique identifying classification. This eternal file established a data set that was full of everything that we wanted to store there. When we graduated and became our own God, we relied on this eternal data as the basis for our unique individual existence. No matter where this existence might take place throughout the endless and eternal universe. In order to have these new experiences in other worlds, worlds without end, we needed a body that had a brain. This would be the appropriate hardware and software that would allow us to access and download all of our previously stored personal experiences. These experiences made us who we are as unique individuals. The information that was foundationalized in our data set stored on the eternal intergalactic cloud was sometimes hard to download into the new body. When we couldn't download what was stored in our unique files, we felt a physical feeling of frustration that we now call unhappiness. Most of the time, the processor, our brain, wasn't the right one to accomplish the job of downloading or uploading our individual information properly. It was our mission and desire as we traveled throughout the universe, or rather, allowed our personal data to exist connected to the universal cloud, to find the right physical brain with the right processor. Only with the right processor can we find and experience what we can now describe as joy. If the processor is flawed in some way, it isn't going to do what we expect it to do. With the right processor, we can upload and download our unique information into the brain of the new physical body, according to our free will. No person or entity, and there's no entity greater than the human life form, can access our information and download it into their own experience, unless we give them permission to do so. This is how relationships with other humans are established. We share some of the information from our stored files with some of the information from their stored files to create a new file. As long as this new file, this new experience, is not corrupted, we will enjoy accessing it, along with the person with whom we have shared our experiences in a new subfile stored on the eternal intergalactic cloud-based hard drive. If anyone attempts to force us to create a new file with them without our consent, or to serve their desires that have nothing to do with our own, the file becomes corrupted and our brain senses the discomfort. For the reasons given above, many people want to disconnect their file from the corrupt one. When a person commits suicide, the person immediately disconnects the eternal energy of their soul from the relationships, new files, established in the world in which these new files were created. Again and again and again, nothing is more important to human existence where the purpose of this existence is for the individual to experience joy than free will. Absolutely nothing. End of chapter 7.